Morning all, hello all, happy Father's Day to all those that are fathers, all those that are potentially fathers, and in every country in which this day is a thing. I know in South America it's the opposite. It's in our winter, so it's their summer. Both Mother's Day and Father's Day are different times because I used to go down there a lot. Anyway, hello everyone, and welcome to Tea with G. I hope you have your tea handy and are ready to sip on it, as well as your questions handy. This is a time for us to contemplate, to really look deep into yourselves and not settle for just, nice sounding answers, good spiritually sounding answers, or conceptual stuff you've learned, stuff from a book, right? All of that's well and good. It all has its place, but the real meat of spiritual inquiry is self-realization. You come to know yourself as you actually are. You can't get that from a book. They don't teach you in school. They only teach the knowledge that's been collected over the years. It's knowledge about, for the most part, everything other than you. Nothing about you. That is your direct experience of yourself. That's the difference. You can't know yourself like one thing knows another. You can't merely look at a bunch of ideas. The thought of anything is not the thing. The idea of anything is not the actual thing itself. So, taking away any thought, any concept, any idea, any sense of any sense of yourself. It's more subtle. What are you with none of that? I mean, none of it. No thought whatsoever. Like the gap between thoughts, that gets really big, and suddenly there's just no thought. Or maybe a better way of saying it, because I don't want to make it sound like, the object is to not have any thinking going on. It's really not being engaged with thought. It's not taking some thought of you to be you. It's just a thought. And instead, what's the direct experience of yourself? Is everybody hearing me okay? Because I noticed all of a sudden there's no... Everything seems like it's frozen. The numbers have stayed frozen. Comments have stayed frozen. It's like... are you all hearing me? I may go over to YouTube and see if in fact I'm showing up, or if something has gotten frozen somewhere, because it doesn't seem like there's much going on. So let me just do a quick thing on YouTube. Sure the sound's off so it doesn't make a mess, and go to live. Yeah. Sound is fine, says Elaine, okay, hearing you fine. We're we're all contemplating. All good. Okay. Yeah. Just okay. Good. Because as you all know, I oftentimes will have arguments with the technology gods, which are they're all like Old Testament gods. You know, all rules and no mercy. And did I just button this wrong? Oh, geez. Yeah, here's your guru dispensing knowledge, and he can't even button his shirt right. It's kind of a savant. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah. Oh boy. So this is a great start to the show. I guess it's a show. Yeah. This is a show, live stream. What do they call these things? So we're going to just kind of start over. What's on your minds today, folks? What question do you have about the nature of things that you're burning to have answered? What question do you have about how to become truly free? Whatever that might mean to you. Because it means different things to different people. It has a very specific meaning when you're looking at it as non-dual self-inquiry. It means freedom from any concept of you. But I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. What's on your hearts? What's on your minds? If this was the last opportunity to ask a teacher a question, this was it. What would you want to ask? It certainly wouldn't be about, advice on some aspect of something going on in your life. It would be something where the answer would resonate with you for the rest of forever. Not that I'll have such an answer. Can't guarantee it, but even the formation of a question that has that kind of energy behind it is really is very potent. Because it's really the final question doesn't actually get answered in any sense or any way where we normally think about getting an answer. And the final question, the question and the questioner disappear. Because you are the answer. So, everyone's contemplating, says Christina. Everybody's just really quiet today, huh? So what is your contemplation about? I started to try to kind of go off on like a discourse or something, and sometimes that stuff comes. Sometimes there's something appears in my mind, but sometimes not, and we just get quiet. Sometimes the best satsang is simply silence. YouTube doesn't like it. Big gaps of silence. But I'm going to need your help. Because absolutely nothing is coming to me. David and Elaine says, We have a clear sense of the truth of our true nature, G. But sometimes the mind doesn't seem to have gotten the memo. Yes. I like this question. Well, it's not a question. There's no question mark. Does the mind need to get the memo? Is there any need at all for the mind, that is, just the flow of thoughts, to be anything other than what it is, doing anything other than what it's doing? Is it a requirement for your true nature that the mind be something else other than just a flow of thoughts? We have a sense that because doubts are coming up, contrary thoughts, contradictory thoughts, that must mean I'm not awake yet. I'm not really understanding yet. What if that's not true? Just ponder that for a second. Remember, if there's a belief there, in the slightest way in which the notion that you are somehow something other than your true nature, you're going to have the experience of being something other than your true nature. But it has nothing to do with the reality of it. It has nothing to do with the mind. It has nothing to do with experience. It's just that belief. Can you be anything other than what you are? There's always this little voice saying that, well, when this or this or this or this is happening or not happening, then I am awake. Can awakening be something that happens? Right? That means awakening has a starting point. Right? Because if it does, it's going to have an ending point. What does it mean to actually be awake? Is everybody following this? It's me. Am I going off somewhere that that nobody cares about? It is so unusually quiet here. Of course, there's only about a third of the people that are normally here as well. It's just really unusually quiet. I'm trying to pick up on some energy somewhere that I can riff on, and I'm not feeling a lot of it. So let's just then look at what awakening is. What's the dream? What do we awaken from? The dream is made of all of the ideas, concepts, beliefs, assumptions that form an image in the mind and then associate with that image the word I. I am this. And there's a picture there. If I ask you to picture yourself, what picture comes to mind? There'll be the picture of how you look, right? There'll be an image, your face, body, and the like. There'll also be various kinds of characteristics, personal characteristics, like personal, like the sound of your voice, the things you like to do, your memory, your all of these associations that we have. Now, all of those are images in the mind, aren't they? Is the image in your mind you? Is it possible for the mind to ever picture anything in its entirety? To really know something in its entirety? Is it even possible? Is the image of your house or your car or a friend or a flower? Is that the house or the car, your friend or the flower? Is the image the same as the actual thing it's imaging? So, separate from the thought of you, who are you? What's left? What's the actual experience you have of you? When we believe the image in our mind is who we are, that's the dream. That's what we wake up from. That image isn't who I am. And so the experience of awakening is something that happens in time, has a beginning and a fulfillment. But just like awakening from a dream, there's a beginning of the dream, middle, finally an end of the dream that wakes up. What is woken up to has been there the whole time. It was there prior to the dream, during the dream, and after the dream. Now, when you're looking at that from the point of view of spiritual awakening, self-realization, which you're awakening to is that which has always been, prior to all experience that's being had. Now, we experience that manifest in time as it's what we call spiritual awakening. But even the awakening that you experience is only an experience. The self, what you really are, the truth of you, is never anything other than the truth of you. The reality of you is always self-aware. It's always awake. The word Buddha is often translated as the awakened one. But there's another translation of it, very similar from the Sanskrit into English. But there's a subtle nuance to the difference in it. Because when you say the awakened one, it means somebody who awakened, like awakening is a point in time. But another way of saying the same thing is the awake one. Not awakened as an event in time, but simply the awake one. And it's not referring to somebody then who wakes up, right? It's the awake one. It's one who is awake. The image that we have in our minds of who we are is not awake. Let's take that even further. An image is not sentient. It is not self-aware. It is not conscious. Right? There's no sentience there. A thought isn't thinking itself. It's not aware of itself. Without you there, the thought doesn't even have any existence. So, what is it that's actually aware of the thoughts? And aren't you always aware of the thoughts? This is something to just notice, because the key to this is discovering that this is happening all the time. Awareness is always there. Every thought that goes by can only go by because you're aware of it. When the thoughts aren't there, it can only happen because you're aware of them not being there. Awareness is never, ever anything but aware. What did Christina say? Yeah, just speak up whenever you like. She said, I don't know what freedom means to me. At first was the desire to stop the suffering. Yeah, it means that. To be free of suffering, it very much means that. At first was the desire to stop it. Then be free to do what I want and the possibilities to do so. Now I'm not so sure. I can only contemplate about freedom from what you are saying. Well, everything you're saying there, right? The freedom meaning just not suffering and being able to realize aspirations, dreams, desires, that sort of thing, that is freedom. Right? So, in order to be free from suffering and to experience the fruits of life, the possibilities of life, we first have to know what's binding us. Why are we not free? What is it that keeps us from being free, from experiencing freedom? What perpetuates the suffering? What perpetuates the limitations? So there's nothing wrong with saying I want to be free of suffering. I want to be free from and free to. Free from suffering and free to experience and enjoy without fear of consequences, right? Or fear of more suffering. So what is it then that keeps us bound? Well, first off, when anybody gets the idea that freedom is possible, it's a big deal. For most people, and for most of the history of human beings, freedom, what did it mean? I mean, it really was just kind of a concept. Just thought it was a concept, and much, much later, we weren't expecting to be free. We had a particular harmonious relationship with nature. But as we humans became more complex and sophisticated, we found ourselves kind of bound up in ways of being that really didn't feel like we made any progress at all. I mean, on one hand, an interesting example would be like when we went from humans went from hunter-gatherers, right? Which of course is completely dependent on things. We're dependent on the weather. We're dependent on the migration of herds. We're depending on what plants are blooming and what's not. There was a sense of freedom that was gained because now when we started agriculture, when we started growing our own food, and even could grow some foods that would last, we could store them, like grains and corn and things like that. Right? So we didn't have to go out every day and get food every single day. It could actually be stored. Now that meant we didn't have to walk around all the time. We didn't have to go all the time to to find the food. And this wasn't like going to the grocery store and shopping, right? It was like I had to go and chase down the food, or, hope that I beat the birds to the blueberry bush or something like that. So now all of a sudden, this is a whole new thing of freedom, isn't it? But what happened? Well, all of a sudden now, I'm tied to these crops. I'm like free of this, and now I'm bound by this. I'm bound by the fact that it's still subject to the weather, but it actually, in the life of us early folks, it actually took more of our day, more of our time, and was harder work to grow the crops than what we had left behind, although it seemed like it was going to be free. And this is kind of a thing that's continued throughout human development up to now, where we have all these time-saving things and life hacks, and we actually work more than we ever have, ever. So our ideas of freedom came from we want to be free from this total dependency on survival. Right? And then we want to be free to actually, the pursuit of happiness kind of thing in the American Declaration of Independence. Right? So what does actually it mean to be free? And what's actually binding us? Well, if you look at it as we're here today to look at it through the eyes of spiritual self-realization and self-inquiry. And why does that matter? Because for the most part, what we want is just take me as I know me and make me more free. That is, I get more of the things I want more easily, less of the things that I don't want. Right? That's pretty much freedom, the way we think of it. And that means I have less suffering, right? Because I suffer because of the things that I want and I don't have, and the things I have that I don't want. Right? All well and good, but with what this path brings to the party, that as far as I've seen, no other path does. It asks a question that you don't hear anywhere else, and that is, who is the I? You say, I want this, right, and I don't want that. All the focus is on what is wanted, the objects of wanting, or not wanted, but no focus on the I that wants them. What's actually binding you, what's actually creating the absence of freedom, the bondage, what's actually creating the sufferer, the suffering, is the I thought, the sense of I, the sense of who I am, which makes the only real remedy, the only real way out of suffering and into freedom is the discovery of the I that we have believed ourselves to be. If I believe myself to be that, then my experience of everything is going to be through the perspective, the lens. I'm going to see the world is as this person I believe myself to be. I believe this. This is who I am. So I'm going to see the whole world from that perspective. And it's going to seem as if, yes, indeed, that is who I am. Now, just looking at any kind of assumption that we have, when we have an assumption that's deeply held, it literally becomes our experience, whether it's true or not. It doesn't have to be true to be your experience. But having the experience, it seems to confirm the assumption. The most fundamental assumption is, I am that picture in my mind. Hence the need to look at it and go, is that what I really am? That is what is binding us. It is not the circumstances, it's not people, it's not governments, it's not not having this and having too much of that. That is not what's binding us. What's binding us is the belief that the thought of me is me. Hence the need to, as Ramana said, go back the way you came. Trace that all the way back from the thoughts of you, going all the way back, as far back as you can go, till you get to the point where you're past the conditioning that we all received, which put all these thoughts and everything in our head. You go past that to the point where there was something there before I was conditioned. Before the conditioning happened, and I became identified with the conditioning, I was there already. Now, what are you? Who are you? How do you see or think of yourself without thoughts? So there was a time you were, but there was no thoughts. Like a little child. There are times every day, deep sleep, when you're there and there's no thought. There's no concept of you. There's no idea of you. You are just you. You're just present. Yeah. Now that doesn't seem like much, because on the quest to know who you are, we're really looking for a better idea of ourselves. We're looking for a better concept of ourselves. We're looking for some form. Right? But when you go to that place that's prior to thought, there's no form there at all. Yet you are. In deep sleep, there's no thought. There's not even an I thought. It's that you that you believe yourself to be doesn't even exist. You just are pure being. This is what is rejected by our minds. It's rejected by really all the spiritual practices, psychological practices, emotional practices. It's rejected simply because there's this insistence, this deep attachment to being somebody, something, some form. The idea of being, of existing, yet being formless is, well, it's inconceivable. Remember, your mind only works through images, through forms. It doesn't have anything else to work with. It cannot conceive of formless being. It has to form an image. So you can't ever form an image of yourself as you actually are. Your mind will simply not be able to do it. Hence our need to go beyond the mind. Now you are beyond the mind, aren't you? I mean, you're there in deep sleep. You're there when the mind wakes up into the waking state. You're always there. Right? So, without any reference to any of the thoughts, who are you? There's a reason why this is a practice, this is a sadhana. Because it takes effort, persistence, and some discipline to continually bring your attention back to a place where there is nothing to see. There's no form. Right? And yet, at the same time, there is a distinct and real sense of your own existence, isn't there? It's not like there's nothing there. There's a very distinct sense that I am. We'll go there. Okay, well, that's great. Immediately the mind, wow, this is great. Yeah, right, it's totally empty. We start describing it. And we'll pick up some non-dual ideas and we'll apply those. And we might even be able to speak with great authority and great power. All the non-dual ideas and concepts. But it still remains. Right? They're just concepts. What is the self-knowledge, the true knowing, that is not a concept? Just wandering off on a tangent there. Right, freedom. I completely forgot, Christina. Freedom, right. Freedom from all concepts. And we're afraid of that, aren't we? Well, does that mean I'm not going to have any good things? Does that mean I'm always going to be stuck with things that I don't want? No. To realize yourself as the formless does not at all eradicate form. It's like this. Between the form and the formless arises the subtle form of the person. The sense of I, or I am, that assumes that the form exists independently from the formless. It's like the fountain does not have a source. It's just a fountain, right? Self-existent. Now that's not actually possible, but that's how we approach it. Buddha put it like this. He said, there's a road, there's a walking on the road, but there's no traveler. This is stuff we have to ponder and contemplate, not just kind of, oh, that sounds really cool, that sounds really non-dual. We all experience doubt, right? I'll say, you are the self, period, end of story. You say, yeah, but these thoughts and stuff, right? Look at it like this. There are doubting thoughts, but there's no doubter. A doubting thought can arise, but if there's nobody there to take the doubting thought and says, I'm doubting. Doubting's a problem, and then kind of arc off on on something that's trying to fix the doubt, to get rid of the. How do I get rid of the doubt? Okay. Go all the way back, and what if the same doubting thought arose, but no sense of a doubter or an I that was doubting arose? Yet the consciousness, the awareness is still there. It's aware of the thought. It's actually even aware of the sense of a doubter arising. So there's a doubting thought, no doubter. I know a lot of people struggle with self-judgment, self-criticism, right? All right. What if there's a judging thought, but there's no judge? A critical thought, but there's no critic. Nor is there anyone being criticized. A victim thought, but no victim. Can you ponder that? See, there's an assumption there that if there's a doubting thought, there's obviously a doubter. there's thoughts, there must be a thinker. Really? Can there just be thoughts and no thinker? Can there be doing with no doer? No one can deny, yep, there's a doubting thought there. But what about the doubter? Isn't the doubter just an assumption that has not been scrutinized? Is there actually a doubter there? Or is that just another thought? And are you, the consciousness that is aware of the doubting thought, are you the doubter? The habit, the unchallenged assumption is like, well, who's the doubter? Well, I am, of course. Right? Then, okay, well then, you're so confident, who are you? Oh, it's a subtle thing. But to me, it really is the essence of the whole deal. And the thing that seems to be well, it's not, I don't hear it many places. I didn't recognize it till I heard it from my own teacher and pondered it enough to go, wow, wait a minute. The I that says, I am the doubter, is just a thought. Where's the actual doubter that thought represents? Can't find it. Can't find them. So there are thoughts that say, I'm not free. Okay. There's a thought that says that. Is there somebody who's not free? Is there a bound, binding thoughts, is there someone bound? Does this make any sense to folks? I'm feeling rather scattered today. I'm not feeling like all of this is flowing very easily today for whatever reason. So, so I'm kind of like, it's kind of like I'm having a hard time picking up on any energy. Maybe I'm just being dense today, but which is possible. It does happen. It does happen. I don't feel like I'm grabbing onto any threads here that are actually just resonating. Yeah. Oh, let's just see. David, to adapt a quote from Nisargadatta, we remain as we are and let the mind flow as it will. Yeah, exactly so. I remain as I am. The witness to all creation, to all of life, everything, is unaffected by what it's witnessing, which is actually you. The idea that, oh, I am being affected by it, and that there is someone being affected by it, someone with preferences and the like, is just a thought. Is there such a person? There are thoughts. Is there a thinker? There's experience. Is there an experiencer? A formed experience. A tangible experiencer. There's someone experiencing. Oh, this is the heart and soul of the whole inquiry. Is there? Is this person I believe that I am, is this person real? Or is it just a thought? Now the subtlety is that when we start to play with that, immediately there's this idea, oh, there's no person, there's no experience. And you get these non-dual teachings about, oh, there's nothing here, it's all an illusion. Nothing exists, there's no one anywhere. And then, like, it's just this big blank. Yeah. There's no person, but there is all of life and all of its experiences. All the form is real. That is, it is the actual manifestation of the fundamental reality, which is being, your being, our shared being. And all form is basically the reflection in the mirror of the formless. The illusion, the snake in the rope, is the idea of a person that's in the middle between you, the absolute reality, and all of the manifest universe through all eternity is the reflection of that. But the person that says, I exist independently of that, doesn't exist. And we've gone through God knows how many lifetimes after lifetime. But at some point, especially, which is obviously for many of you, this lifetime, we encounter the Dharma. We encounter this completely different view that questions that the existence of that separation. When that happens, we find ourselves growing into the role of a seeker, the seeker of truth, the one who wants to truly find themselves. It may go through a bunch of may spend a couple of lifetimes going through different kinds of practices and the like, various kinds of sadhana. But eventually, it even comes to the point where you see that there are seeking thoughts. There's a seeking energy, seeking activities, but there's no seeker. The witness of both the seeking and the imagined seeker is what is being sought. I'll just continue on here. Christine says, I cannot grasp the thought that I am not the body, even though I sense something beyond the body. Good, because you cannot conceive of a thought of not being the body. You could conceive of not being this body, but you could conceive of some kind of ephemeral body, right? A body of light, or some kind of body where this is just more transparent and can move through space easily and the like. But yeah, there's a sense of being something, some form. So in order for that to happen, you have to go beyond thought. What's your actual experience? So forget about the thought that you're not the body. Right? What's your actual experience of the body? Take away the thought, the body, the image in our mind of a body, which is, the form you see in the mirror. Because that's just one aspect of what we experience. And instead, just for a moment, just feel the body, what we call the body. And you'll just notice that, with your eyes closed, the body is quite amorphous. The feeling, the kinesthetic sense of the body doesn't have that same kind of sharp, solid boundaries and stuff that the visual does, right? And just feel those feelings and notice, there's a subtle form there. I can tell my hand feels different than my knee, which feels different than my shoulder. Right? So there is. But notice, it's not as distinct and hard. The edges aren't as hard, are they? Now notice that everything you're experiencing, right, that is the body, is really just the sum total of all the sensations, right? I mean, you can't deny the sensations. I cannot deny the experience of a body. Some don't have to, which is good, right? But now, all of the experiences you're having of the body, you have at night in a dream, don't you? And yet, that body is experienced, yet no objective body exists separate from the image you have of it, the image you're experiencing of it. So what if it was possible that in the waking state, what we are experiencing is as much images in consciousness as your dream at night? That in fact, there isn't a body, a thing out there generating the experience. The experience of the body is emerging right within consciousness itself. That consciousness is the source. And in fact, the sensations are there, but the physical object out there, separate from your experience of it. Right? Does that actually exist? Now, if you look at it like a dream at night, the waking dream doesn't necessarily need to, does it? The entire experience that we call the body can take place within consciousness without a body out there. Because it's all being experienced as in your sensations. And then there's the thought that says these sensations are being created by an object that exists separate from me. That is a world and all of that. There's me and there's this world. Is that separation actually true? And you can look directly. Is there anything in the sensations themselves, what you're experiencing, even sight, the feeling, the touch, all of it? Is there anything in the actual sensations that say, conclusively, this is coming from something outside? Or isn't it at least possible that the exact same experience is happening, but it is being completely generated from inside, just like your dreams at night? Just enough to instill some doubt in the tacit agreement, the absolute conviction that the whole world operates under, and that is what I am perceiving exists separately from the perceiver of it. That's what we're questioning. Is that really true? Am I this object in space-time? Or is the experience of the body, including space and time, all happening within me? And if that's the case, who the hell is this me? Because the me in my mind is this me that supposedly exists out there. But if it doesn't, then who is this me that experiences the whole world? Well, it's not a person, is it? It's not a form. Can't be. And it has to be both the perceiver of everything and the source of everything. This is a contemplation, a very deep contemplation. And I just entreat you all to engage in it. Because it's part of the deal. There is the devotional part. There's the part of just the meditation, of the surrender, of the awakening of the heart, you might say. But there also is this need for a deep contemplation. The Buddha's meditation. Remember, when the Buddha left his family, his riches, his position in life, his very high status in life, to find the answer to suffering. He went to, according to the legend, and we don't really know the whole history of it, but according to the legend, the story, he went to all the great masters of the day, or at least around where he lived. Right? Because you had to walk everywhere, right? Or maybe ride a horse. You weren't taking a plane over to India. He was already there. And he found it unsatisfactory. According to the story, he very quickly mastered all of the meditation techniques he was taught. Now, interestingly enough, the Upanishads, which are kind of the foundation of everything that became Advaita Vedanta, or the non-duality, was written about the same time Buddha was around. So the kind of non-dual threads that are available to us today weren't in fact available to him, as far as can be told, the historicity of it. And so he exhausted all that, and he kept pondering. He kept looking. Now remember, he wasn't looking for a transcendent state. He wasn't trying to find some nirvana thing. Although he knew all those terms, he'd heard all those words. He was looking for the answer to suffering. It was something much more concrete that had him pondering more deeply than just trying to get to a certain state of samadhi. Right? Now those would have existed. He would have gotten to those and found those unsatisfactory. So it was in that last moment when he had completely exhausted his body, he exhausted the whole, denying himself everything and total austerity in order to get enlightened. He realized that wasn't the way either. And he just sat down to meditate, to ponder, to contemplate. But according to the story again, he said, I'm not getting up from this place until I have found the answer to suffering. Now that place isn't some place in India under a particular tree, it was a banyan tree, I guess, in a particular spot for a particular amount of time, and in the morning when the morning star appeared, Venus, the moment of perfect awakening. It's not what it's referring to. It's referring to our willingness to do the same thing internally, and that is, I'm not budging from this place until I've found the answer to suffering. That is, I'm not letting go of this inquiry until it completes itself, until it fulfills itself in the ultimate answer, which he found, which was exactly what we've been talking about. The problem of suffering was the sufferer. The sufferer did not exist except as a thought. It wasn't the circumstances, it wasn't the body, it wasn't things going on in the world, it wasn't your relationship, it wasn't your financial state. It was the belief in the sufferer. All of those could go on untouched without suffering if there's no sufferer. There must be a sufferer. He said the sufferer, the I thought, is the primary ignorance upon which all suffering is based. It all comes from there. That's the question, who am I, is not theological, it's not theoretical, it's not a nice spiritual practice. It's a real contemplation. Am I who I think I am? If I'm not, then what the hell am I? And this deep, penetrating pondering that looks at all these things. Well, I have assumed that this body was a thing that had all these sensations. My actual experience is, yes, there is these experiences that I'm having that I call sensations. But nothing in these sensations tells me there's a body generating it. In which case, the word sensation isn't really accurate. Because it's not sensing something. What's more accurate is it is perception. I am perceiving something. Just went through the first three of the five skandhas in Buddhism. Which then goes to objects of mind and then consciousness, but I won't go all the way there right now. See, I've instilled the doubt. The experience of everything we call the body is here. The body as an object, independently of the sensations, and some kind of object in the world, in safe time, that is generating that. Right? That there's a world out there creating it. That's what is to be doubted. That makes a big difference, because, yeah, otherwise you can't conceive of not the body, because that would mean there's no experience. Experience, everything you're experiencing right now, but it's self-generating. It's coming from inside, not from the outside. No change to anything. That's pretty important, right? When the mirage is seen as a mirage, the desert's still there. None of that is lost. This non-dual inquiry doesn't lead you to this big blank space that's totally uninteresting and boring and you wish you had a magazine. It's not like that. How's that, Christina? Oh, she had a small experience. Just before I fell asleep, when for a split second I noticed the mind as a thing that I notice and not me. But it quickly snapped back. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. Good. I injected the serum in you, and it's working. Be patient with this stuff, because this is how it happens. You do the inquiry, but it's not the mind or thought where the insight comes. It is a sudden seeing. And yes, at first, it's like the clouds part, and they go right back together again. Right? Because there's such a momentum behind identification with form. Yeah. But, so don't worry about that. A lot of people go, oh my God, it's not bad. What's the matter with? Nothing. There's nothing the matter with you. You have been given a glimpse into nirvana. Just say, thank you. It means I'm on the right track. It's only going to get bigger. And that tiny little glimpse, however short it was, boom, is now at work. Going through your whole system. It is deconstructing, it is dissolving, it is moving, it is doing all sorts of things. That is bringing about the dissolution of the illusion of a separate self who is the sufferer. So don't worry about it snapping back. Next time, it'll be there a little longer, but don't worry and don't seek it, because the glimpse is not the thing. What you're glimpsing is yourself. Second, the mind is the thing I noticed. Good. Now the question is, who am I without the mind? Who am I that noticed the mind? And I want you to notice right now, that particular insight that the mind is a thing. But notice, aren't you always aware of thought? Remember, the mind is nothing but flow of thoughts. That's all there is to it. There's not a thing called mind, right? There's a thought mind that simply represents a bunch of thoughts. Dun, 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 dun. Right? So, are you not all the time aware of those thoughts? In the moment, what happens is suddenly the I'm not those thoughts, that is, I'm not the mind, is there as a realization, not as a thought. But yet, now you go, take the step back, wait a minute, it's always like that. There's also a thought there saying that somehow I'm connected to the thoughts. I need to be something different than the thoughts. How do I get free of the thoughts, which are just more thoughts? The fact is, you are always seeing the thoughts. And they are always just a thing you are seeing. Ponder that, so that this glimpse now turns you more deeply towards that which even experienced the glimpse. That too is an experience. I won't go all the way there. Yeah. It's 11:13. I'm going to take a little break here because I'm dying of thirst and I've got to get something. I've got to get something to drink. So please forgive me. I will be right back. I'm going to stop the camera for a second, and maybe I don't have any pretty pictures to put up, but. Mute. Oops. Almost had in the picture. That's bad. Took off my shirt. It's warm enough in here. So, anyway, how's that, Christina? How's that, everybody? I'm going to make this a little bigger so I can see more of the questions at once here. Yeah, that was good. Well, that makes sense, Chi. I try to ponder on what you say and just not agree with what you say. That's what I love about you. I want you to experience the I, not just listen about it. I want everybody to have that attitude, right? Because it's not just about acquiring spiritual knowledge. Matter of fact, from what I've been able to tell from most of you, you have all the spiritual knowledge you need. You don't need to accumulate anymore. We need to be willing to put in the effort at the contemplation of things that are very difficult to hold in our minds and are very contrary to the way we normally think and feel. So it is a discipline. It does require effort on our part. It's funny because, non-duality, it's all effortless and it just all happens. True. But part of that happening is our experience of putting in effort. I know it sounds so very strange. It sounds contradictory, but that is the nature of this rather unusual but penetrating practice of non-dual self-inquiry. See, there's Christine. I'm trying to keep the thread with her before I go back to you, Fatima. I haven't forgotten you. Some mornings I can observe the second I wake up how the program of the mind starts, the suffering and the thought of everything that is wrong now and needs fixing. Beautiful. Yeah. You are seeing it. So what's happening is you are separating. You're disidentifying with that. You're seeing these things that pop up, right? Things that are wrong. All the habitual patterns of thought as habitual patterns of thought, and not taking it in and saying, well, oh yeah, everything's wrong and I need fixing. You're not becoming it. You're not jumping in and becoming the one who is fixing all the things that are wrong. Who, in fact, without that person, there isn't anything wrong. Back to Fatima. Hi, G. I'd like to ask, if I feel like I'm tired of the ego, is it not the ego being tired of itself? No, it's not. The ego can't smell its own breath, can't smell its own farts. Don't be so quick to jump on those kinds of things, because the ego is the sense of a person, right? And when we start to become tired of the ego, what it really means is we are beginning to feel the weight of identification of ourselves as a person. Because that's all the ego is. The ego is the sense of I as a separate entity, right? Confined in this body, interacting with all these other separate entities, right? Sometimes successfully, sometimes horribly, badly, right? So when you begin to get kind of just tired of the burden, it means that the projections are getting less. The suppression isn't holding up anymore. The real feeling of the burden of being a separate self is becoming more and more apparent. That's not the ego's doing. The ego does everything it can to not feel that stuff, to push it away, and to continue to pursue what is believed to be the answer to that question of it feels at first like, oh yeah, it's really heavy. I need more money, or I need a better relationship, or I need more opportunity, or I need more, whatever it might be. I need more God. I need more, I need more knowledge. Whatever it is, that's how the ego responds to it. Right? So we don't want to get wrapped up in these concepts that, well, isn't that just the ego tired of itself? Just stand back for a moment. Right? Because in your heart, what do you want? What is your deep desire? I want to be free. I want to be free for whatever it is that's binding me. And at first we think we know what's binding us, and eventually we become more humble and more devotional. We go, you know what? I'm. It's just not comfortable. These shoes don't fit, so our heart's just open to be shown. What is it that's binding me? Right? And so the non-existential concept, tired of itself. So who is really tired? Well, you do have it right. That's more water here. In that the self, who you really are, is never tired. But remember that what we're experiencing is a process of awakening. The self is forever awake. It's never asleep. Right? But the self experiences itself in time as interactions, as many. The one experiences itself as many. So, in the process of having an experience, and any experience, it's time for that experience to come to an end, right? And watching a movie, we may really even like the movie, but at a certain point we're ready for the movie to be done, right? If the movie just keeps going on and on and on, eventually we'll get tired of it and want to walk out of it. Our life, all of our lifetimes are like that. They're like this movie that is being experienced of all incredible vastness and contrast and the incredible range of experience, all being experienced. And at some point, it's time to come out of experience. Right? Okay, I'm done with that. And so there will be the experience now that the movie's lost its attraction. It's lost its flavor. It's becoming more flat. It's becoming less interesting. It's beginning to feel more burdensome. All of these things are the symptoms of awakening, right? Because when what we're experiencing stops being fun, right? The movie just goes on too long, right? We naturally begin to turn away from it. How do I get out of this? That we feel this, it's the desire for freedom, the desire to get away from it. And it's usually misguided at first. We think we just want a better movie. But eventually we see it's not that at all. But all of this is grace. It's all part of because the actual theme of the movie is awakening. And part of that is the beginning to not be satisfied with experiencing at all anymore. And we experience that as getting kind of tired of it. We're actually getting tired of the ego, getting tired of the person. They're becoming heavy, burdensome. Right? It's not that the real self, the reality, feels burdened. Right? But it's part of the experience that we're having, even while we are the perfect self. Right? It is the self, God, having the ultimate experience as you. And when it's time to bring you back, the sense of I, back home to its source, it all starts to feel kind of heavy and it loses its luster. It's just not fun anymore. You know? It's just not interesting anymore. It's like, been there, done that. I've seen it all. What's left? Well, nothing's left. But it is that discomfort. It is that nothing satisfying anymore that turns us back from the I am, the person having the experience, to just the pure sense of I am. I just am. Empty, open, spacious, formless. Which then, even the I am being seen, being witnessed, as the subtlest of all subtle, just dissolves into the absolute, which is what you are. So, no, it's not the ego getting tired of itself. It's the real you calling you back, the sense of an I as a person being called back to itself. And that calling is, oh man, I'm tired of this. These shoes just don't fit anymore. It's like a pebble in the shoe. Does that help, Fatima? So, really should get you into the self-inquiry Sangha. I can work with you a little bit more. Find some others who are doing the same thing. So, open invitation to everybody. That, I do. So it's on Zoom, so I can interact with people more, which is really wonderful. So, who is really tired? Yeah. It's you and it's not you. God, I hope that's clear. I hope that's clear. Because it's not, we got to overcome, the tiredness. No, the tiredness is grace. It is helping you overcome the ego. Because while the ego is fun, we don't want to get rid of it. But when it starts becoming burdensome, now we're ready to let it go. Nobody wants to wake up from a dream in which it's all really cool. It's a great time, feels good, it's wonderful. You get pretty upset if somebody comes and wakes you up. God, then try to get back to sleep. But if you're having a nightmare, oh my God, please wake me up. You don't know you're asleep. Somebody comes and wakes you up. Oh, thank you. It's kind of like that. So, Crispin, boy, I haven't seen you in forever, my friend. So good to see you. So good to see you. How is your son? Yeah. Tomas, hey, hello to you. I gotta send you something in particular because you joined the EFT group well into it. So I want to get you into just put you into the next one at no additional cost to you because you can get the whole experience. So we should actually talk in person. There's a link in all the material there for you to schedule a private session with me. It's not charged, so by all means, yeah, great. Yes, Jace. Hello, Sylvia. All makes sense, G. Try to ponder what you're saying and not just agree. Yes, that's I love you. Let's see. You are Jiva, Para-Atman, Hare Krishna. The Jiva is the person. Para-Atman is beyond is the self beyond. There's not a self that is a self. It's the formless reality. Hare Krishna, yeah, which Krishna represented, yes, Hare Krishna. Yeah. Yeah, Krishna embodied that. In a sense, it was the personality of the infinite, but the infinite, of course, does not have a particular personality. It appears as all personality. It's Rama, it's Krishna, it's Christ, it's Buddha. It's you. It's even you. We just don't think it. It's like, oh no, Krishna, that was. Yeah, but no, it's you. This is you. Right now, taking that form, experiencing itself as you, and then waking up from the experience as you. Crispin, thank you, GP. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Ida, there you are. Right? No need to excuse yourself. We have a saying in Norway, without drink and food, the hair is no good. Well, thank you. Yes, I just had to, I just had to take in a lot of liquid lately. I mean, a lot. To the point where I'm peeing all the time. It's like, it's kind of the consequence, right? But it's just like, my body's just needing a lot of water these days. So, I got to get you in the next round of EFT, which we just had the last live gathering for levels 1, 2, and 3 yesterday. I'll be starting a new one, but first, I'm taking a little time off from that. But I am thinking of in between, before I start the next one, of doing a workshop by popular request for just women. Also, there's a couple men that are interested in one for men, because I used to have a men's group and work with that. It was part of one for many years. The problem with men is that I offer the classes, and they go, yeah, it's great, and then they never sign up. Whereas the women, oh yeah, it's, I don't know, whatever. If I can get enough men, I'll do one for the men too. So, so. Christina, I'm in this state for some time now, very tired and bored of everything in this world. Oh, yes. Yes. That's what turns us away from the world as an answer or a solution. Just better conditions in the world. It's not going to make it. That's not what I'm actually craving. You begin to recognize it. Yeah. And submit to it, surrender to it. And then you find coming out of the world that the world was actually subjective in your head. It was our subjective view that was very narrow. And what we have called the world is actually the self. The infinite experiencing of the self. And our life, that life, has been simply seeing ourselves from one particular perspective. Tomas, since early childhood, there have been experiences of depersonalization, derealization, and out-of-body states, a near-death experience, and many others. These were just part of the experience, although for a little child they appeared deeply frightening. Yeah, they did. They would be, because there's no context for those, right? Children really actually do experience. We start out depersonalized. That is, we're not a person, just pure experience. There's nothing realized, nothing not realized. There's no other. There's no me. It's pure. It's absolutely pure, right? It is an out. And we all start is the out of body experience. It's really interesting. Children, you can notice. There's a time when suddenly they notice their hands and the like. It's as if something is kind of like coming into the body. Right? It's like, what is this? It's actually quite visible. They get very curious, because prior to that, there's no sense of that in the child. Now, there's no frighteningness there. They're not frightened of it, because there's no other context. It's later on, we get a little bit older, not a whole lot, but a little bit, we begin to acclimate to this. This starts to become more comfortable or normal being like this. And then these other things become kind of frightening. We're already kind of being drawn into the early stages of identification with form. And as that happens, the experience of the formless becomes confusing and even frightening. then eventually when we are completely identified with form, is what happens to us all, suddenly it becomes the experience of depersonalization, the out-of-body states, near-death experiences. Because now our context is being the person in a form. So now what in fact is simply experiencing yourself as the formless becomes an out-of-body experience. Well, you were never in the body in the first place. Right? That's all just happening as a matter of what's being experienced. But because that's our assumption, that's our point of reference, go, oh, of having an out-of-body experience. Whereas you say, well, I'm having an in-body experience. Because the state of reality is neither in the body nor out of it. Everything is within it. It isn't. And so derealization, depersonally, all those things you talk about, even the near-death experience is actually experiencing your deathlessness. But our reference point is death because of our identification with the body. Because the body does go through changes, and then what we call dies. It doesn't actually die because it was never alive in the first place. It's just a constant transformation of energy. It takes form, goes through all kinds of different forms. Right? In a particular thread, it may be similar. So this particular transformation going on was called Greg, right? Then GP and other stuff along the way. It looked very different as it was going along, right? But at no place was it ever really an entity that would be born or died. It's just a constant transformation that is identified with by that which is not actually the body, but gloms onto the body, and then we call it death. Right? Because the experience through the lens of the body isn't available anymore. Right? And from the perspective of those identified with the body, that body doesn't work, it isn't working. There's nothing animating it. Oh, they are dead. But there was never a they there in the first place. That which is animating this body is animating that body. Everybody is being animated by exactly the same essence, the same being. Is that helpful, Tomas? That's all for now, I think. Don't believe your thoughts. David Elaine is one of the simplest yet most profound messages we have heard. Of course, they're not our thoughts, and by not attaching or identify with them, the power of their narrative is somewhat diminished. Yes, without an I sense, a person, to take ownership of those thoughts, they are just thoughts. Yeah. And at first, because we're identified with the thoughts, we say, don't believe the thoughts. Right? They're not really telling you the truth. And I don't have to go into non-dual explanations to demonstrate that thoughts aren't telling you the truth. You can do that through various kinds, energy healing, and see that, oh, these thoughts aren't telling me the truth. The thoughts, they're conditioning, and I'm not my conditioning. But it can again go much further when you realize that even the thought of I is a thought, and the sense of someone who would believe or not believe those thoughts is itself an even more subtle thought. Because the thought is just a movement in consciousness. It's not just the images in our heads, it's subtle stuff that isn't even perceivable to the senses. movements, vibrations, ripples in consciousness. Some of those ripples are thoughts, some are emotions, some are sensations, and some are even more subtle things. The impulse to identify is also a movement, a ripple in consciousness, being perceived by the Absolute, which is not a person or a thing that perceives. Even the act of perceiving is being perceived. But the perceiver, the ultimate perceiver, cannot be perceived. True aloneness equals all oneness. Yes, alone and not alone. Yeah. Aloneness is frightening to the personal sense of identity. It's frightening. It's not meant to be alone. Human experience is not one of being alone. But when the aloneness is oneness, which includes the manyness, the fear of it's gone. I'm not going to lose anything, anyone, ever. Tomasa, yes, a lack of context for a young child, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. As we get older, we get more ingrained in our particular way of seeing things. So anything that happens outside of that framework becomes odd, weird, paranormal. When in fact there's nothing odd, weird, or paranormal about it at all. It's just outside our conceptual framework. That's all. That's it. So, that's weird. That's unusual. That shouldn't be happening. And because we're so stuck on objects and being an object, we think of, okay, telepathy, and this mind's communicating with that mind. No, there's no other. There aren't two. It's not one thing, mysteriously communicating with another. It's the one just knowing itself, and it's all ourselves. It's all yourself, not personally, but universally. Thomas said, I joined EFT life. It's definitely beneficial. I like to listen. I'm very good at it. I'm also happy to support. Great. Fantastic. Yeah. I'll get you into the next round. Yeah. Maybe one of these days you'll turn your camera on and let us all see you. Don't have to. There's no rules, but yeah. All right. How we doing, folks? Yeah. Sorry for my slow start today. Yeah. I just now started kind of getting gear. I don't know what happened. Just kind of like spaced out all morning. In fact, because I was at one of my favorite little coffee shops this morning after the gym. I like to sit there and I'll ponder things and like the very same thing we're always talking about here. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go home because I wanted to do something before Satsang. And most of my coffee was still there, right? Because I get it very hot, so I can sip on it. So I go outside. It's spacey as always. I set the coffee on top of the car. Where's my key? I find keys. What do? I get in the car, and I start to drive away, and of course, the coffee goes down all over my window. Can't see anything through the rearview mirror. So, I've been kind of spacey all day. Yes. Clarity is nothing to get attached to. Therein lies the lesson. Jill said, your talk turned out to be very perfect today. Yeah, it felt, it's just that fluctuating sense, right? Just didn't feel like much inspiration. I wasn't feeling energy and in you guys. Not that it wasn't there, I was just kind of like not, the lines weren't open somehow. But we got to a good place. So thank you, Jill. Thank you very much. So thank you to everybody. So I'm going to, oops, right in front of the camera. I guess I'll bring it to a close now. It seems like a good place to do so. And hopefully all of that was valuable and useful to you all. And, yes, perfect, says Ida. So good. All right, everybody. So good to be with you. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers and to anybody who has a father, especially a father who's still around. My father has been gone for 49 years. Yeah, almost 50 years. My father's been gone. Yeah. Anyway, love you all. Namaste.